Tokyo, Japan. A place of mystery and intrigue for an outsider or gaijin like me. Sure, I did usual stuff in the past. Watch Naruto, Death Note, even Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. And of course eat ramen and sushi. But beyond that, I honestly knew close to nothing about Japan's country and culture. So I decided to come up with a plan for my trip to Tokyo. What if I tried to blend in with the locals of Japan so I could get the full experience? And I figured, what better way is there than learning the language of the locals? Before even getting started, I already started imagining myself ordering food in Japanese, reading billboard advertisements in Shibuya, and even holding conversations with Tokyo locals. Unfortunately, there was a small problem. This grandiose idea only came to me roughly 1 week before my actual flight to Tokyo. And I'm not crazy. I am well aware that I cannot learn a whole language in a week. But what if I focused on the basics, the 10 to 20% of the language that will help me in 80% of the conversations? That sounds a lot more doable. But still, giving myself a week is not a lot. So I knew I had to get started immediately. And since I'm no language learning expert and only speak 2 languages, I decided to consult the smartest language entity there is. This mysterious being is accessible for everyone, yet no one knows its origins. Yep, you guessed it. I downloaded Duolingo. But can you really blame me? I didn't know a single word of Japanese except for like arigato. So I started with the most accessible way to learn a new language. And so my journey began. At this point I only had like 6 days left, but I was determined to get at least the basics right. Unfortunately, after a day of Duolingoing, I quickly realized that this was not going to cut it. By the end of the day I could memorize a few words, but I was nowhere near ready to order a simple dish at a restaurant. I knew I needed more immersion. I needed more practice. Turns out that there was someone even smarter than that little birdie duo that's actually able to hold a conversation with me. I call him Jarvis because, you know, we're cool like that. But others might refer to him as ChatGPT. I realized that voice mode could give me more immersion as long as I gave a good prompt to the conversation. And this is what I came up with. Jarvis, for this conversation you will help me in learning Japanese. I want your answers to be concise and to the point, as the majority of this conversation will be through a voice chat. Also, ensure that for helping me in learning Japanese, we only focus on the 20% of the language that will help me carry 80% of the conversations. This will include ordering food at restaurants, holding basic conversations, and getting around Tokyo. Just the simple stuff that I will likely use. And after this prompt, I decided to immediately give it a go. Hey Jarvis, I think I'm ready to learn Japanese. Can you help me out and learn me how to order food at a restaurant?
Of course. Let's focus on key phrases for ordering food at a restaurant. 1. To say, I would like this, please. これをお願いします. 2. To ask for the check. お会計お願いします. If you want water, お水お願いします.
Can you repeat the first sentence like, can we go one by one? And this is where I messed up, because I do not have access to advanced voice mode.
Certainly. The first sentence is これお願いします. お願いします. It means, I would like this, please. Give it a try.
これごなします?
You're very close. Just a small adjustment. これをお願いします. これお願いします. Try saying it again, focusing on the お願いします part.
これごおみし...
You're getting there.
Can you break it?
Focus on the correct sounds. これお願いします. これお願いします. Try breaking it down. Give it another shot. Give it another shot.
And to be honest, from this part it only went downhill. So after trying a few more times, I finally decided to give up. It was simply impossible to hold a conversation with ChatGPT without advanced voice mode. Yeah, obviously this is going nowhere. Oh my god. I need advanced voice mode, I think, because this is not it. Jarvis, you have failed me. Yeah, to be honest, I do not know what to do. Both ChatGPT and Duolingo failed me. Hello?
Having a hard time learning Japanese, huh?
Yup. It seems like learning Japanese 1 week before my trip is not really feasible.
Correct, Jason. However, this should not discourage you from learning about Japan.
What do you mean? Learning the language itself is the peak of cultural immersion, right?
Jason, you fail to realize that you're going to Japan with a fresh, unbiased mind, knowing nothing. This is your strength,
Why is that?
because your insights might be valuable to any other outsider planning to visit Japan for the first time.
Ah. So you suggest learning through cultural immersion instead of learning through the language.
Bingo. Now go and enjoy your trip. Come back with fresh insights and tips for us.
Got it. Thanks for your wisdom, Unc. See you soon.
2 weeks later.
Where do I even start? I feel like I've learned a lot from my trip. The culture, the food, everything is different in its own way in Japan. Which brings me to my first point, convenience. I think the first cultural insight I had of Japan is that they're heavily focused on convenience and efficiency. And honestly, after being there for 2 weeks, this might be the single thing I am missing the most. And to understand this cultural aspect better, I have a few examples. For one, public transport, especially in Tokyo, is top tier. You genuinely do not need a car because metros are nearly always on time. The metro lines are clean, quiet, and actually enjoyable for once. A 40-minute ride in the metro in Tokyo is genuinely something to look forward to because you can sit in peace, and people also view it as a meditative place, so no one will bother you. No more taking a nap without being worried about getting robbed. And to add on to that, most major stations have lockers which you can rent for a day. This was a lifesaver for me. Instead of having to carry around my suitcases all day, I just rented a locker for a few bucks. I could comfortably explore the city. No more wasting time at McDonald's or Starbucks before your hotel check-in. Speaking of time wasted, the bullet train, aka the Shinkansen, surely wastes no time at all. You seriously do not need a car to get around and explore other cities. Simply just book a train ride to one of the other big cities like Osaka or Kyoto. And while you're at it, make sure to buy a bento box before your departure so you can also enjoy a solid meal. But that's only stage 1 of Japan's convenience. Let me tell you about the big 3: 7-Eleven, Family Mart, and Lawson. These convenience stores are, in my opinion, the peak of experiencing the efficiency of Japan. This is incomparable to the 7-Eleven in America. These are not just quick gas station snacks. This is fresh quality food served in an instant. I seriously think there was not a single day in Japan where I did not visit either one of these stores. So what should you buy to survive throughout the day? Honestly, I've survived multiple days on just an onigiri, the famous crispy chicken, a fruit smoothie, and this one drink. It was like a strawberry drink that became my new addiction. I need to find an alternative to this because the day I discovered this drink in Japan, I started drinking it every single day. And last but not least, even taking a shit is convenient over there. I'm sure you've heard the rumors, but never tried the product before. That was also the case for me before I visited. And I am here to tell you that it truly is that good. It truly is worth the hype. And in case you still don't get it, I'm referencing the Squirtle toilet thingy. The super soaker aimed at your butt. Anyway, why is this not a thing in the West? Someone in the comments please enlighten me. Another thing I learned that I think is very important to know is that Tokyo by itself is kinda overrated. I'm not saying I didn't like it. In fact, I very much loved it. But once I got to visit Osaka and Kyoto, I realized that it's not just Tokyo that has all the interesting stuff. Cities like Osaka and Kyoto got so much more to offer. First of all, both of these cities are less dense. Tokyo's hotspots like Shibuya and Shinjuku are just full of tourists everywhere. It's essentially alive 24/7. But a city like Kyoto has a more zen-like feeling to the streets. Kyoto truly feels like it's able to showcase more of the cultural aspect of Japan, and it matches more of the the expectations I had. I personally spent like 5 days in Osaka and 2 days in Kyoto, and that is honestly my biggest regret of the trip. I should have planned a longer stay in Kyoto. The aesthetics and vibe of Kyoto feel so much more like what I was expecting of my trip to Japan. Also, even though Tokyo was relatively cheap when I went, I felt like everything was even cheaper in Kyoto. By the way, add a day trip to Nara as well for the deers and gardens. Speaking of Zen, these gardens are the one-stop solution to finding your inner peace again. For Osaka, definitely do a trip to the Osaka Castle. The castle is surrounded by gardens and moats and reminded me a lot of the gardens in Nara. What I loved most was how peaceful the area felt, even though it's literally in the middle of the city. So while Tokyo is exciting, do not miss the chance to explore cities like Osaka, Kyoto, and Nara. They offer a quieter, more cultural experience that makes your trip even more rewarding. And speaking of aesthetics in Japan, there are no public trash cans, which might be quite annoying if you're used to carrying food with you. So my recommendation is to just not carry any food or bring a small bag for your trash. But you could also just simply visit a 7-Eleven where you're hungry, eat a quick bite in the store, and throw away the trash over there. Way more convenient. Loneliness is a big issue. One interesting cultural aspect I was not aware of at all before visiting is that loneliness is a big issue in Japan. From my understanding, this is partly caused by the high-pressure work culture. Japanese people work a lot of hours, which in turn leaves little time for socializing. And I must say they came up with some creative solutions to battle loneliness. For one, there are these animal cafes. So I tried going to a capybara cafe first. Unfortunately, after like 45 minutes of traveling, it turned out that it was fully booked. So then we went to look for alternatives. And guess what? There was also a pig cafe and a Shiba Inu cafe. Obviously, I had to go to both. And this was it was a really interesting experience. One of the first things I noticed is that some people just go there by themselves. They just enjoy spending time with the animals. But that's not all. It's like a mix of combating loneliness while also attracting lots of tourists. And if I were to rate my experience, I'd say the pig cafe was way better than the Shiba cafe. The pigs were like really social animals because they actually interact with you. Whereas the Shibas, they just simply chill, walk around, and don't really want much attention. They probably get too much attention already, and at this point they're sick of it. Whereas the pigs, they love all the attention they're getting. They're, by the way, small and cute and really social animals. So my recommendation, if you were to visit an animal cafe, make sure to go to a pig cafe. The Shiba Inu cafe is not really worth your time. However, possibly the wildest thing I saw were these digital animals. They look like toys at first, but they're actually digital pets, powered by AI with feelings, realistic movement, and emotions. They're designed specifically to help people feel less lonely. They're called lovots, which derives from love and robot. And they're small robot companions created in Japan. These lovots are made to interact with humans by showing affection and responding to touch. They even have big expressive eyes that makes them seem almost alive. And to make matters even more interesting, apparently there's also a lovot cafe. I personally didn't go there, but after doing some more research, I found out that this is actually a thing. And as weird as it might sound, it kind of makes sense to visit the cafe instead of buying one. Those little things are priced at 4K USD. They are not cheap. And to wrap things up, I've also got a few tips. First off, don't stress about getting a physical Suica card, which is the card you will use for the metros. Instead, just download the Suica app on your iPhone or Android. It's super easy to set up, and if you need help with setup, since the app unfortunately does not have an English translation, send screenshots to ChatGPT to guide you through the process of buying one. Plus, on iPhone, you can easily top it up with Apple Pay, which takes about 30 seconds-ish. Remember, convenience is everything in Japan. The same goes for an eSIM. I personally used Holafly at first, but they blocked ChatGPT access because they are operating from Hong Kong, I think. So then I switched to UBG, which was also fine. Both have fast 5G internet, but I think only Holafly offers unlimited data. Regardless, buying an eSIM is 100% worth the investment. And now for the most controversial tip, I'd actually recommend skipping the TikTok famous food spots. So here's why. Almost every food spot in Japan is of high quality. It's not like other places where dining out can be a hit or miss. In Japan, you can expect consistently good food and excellent service no matter where you go. Some places just happen to have more hype than others. If your time in Japan is limited, I'd suggest avoiding the overly popular spots that have gone viral on TikTok. Waiting in line for 2 hours just to try a hyped up place is not really worth your time, especially when the restaurant next door is likely just as good, but without a long waiting time. You'll 100% still get an authentic, delicious experience experience without wasting any time. And a bonus tip for if you want to feel like an A-list celebrity when walking through Japan, get a bicep pump in and wear a tank top. This led to one of my craziest experiences. The first day I decided to wear a tank top, I went to get some ice cream at Kid. As I was standing downstairs waiting for my friends, two older Japanese men approached me. One guy started asking me how much I bench, deadlift, squat, all that. Another one, dead serious, randomly started touching my bicep as if it was fake. And days later, at the festival in Kobe, basically the same exact experience. People being genuinely curious when they see a muscular physique. And I wonder, did those people think that I was my uncle Thanos? And speaking of him, I think he had one last thing to say.
Don't make me come for you. Subscribe right now.